I said to myself, if I'm going to build a car, it has to have some unique features. Otherwise, no one will buy a car from an unknown company in Sweden from a young guy.
This was really a dream of mine, I guess since my childhood, in a way.
Christian von Koenigsegg just dropped a bombshell that's shaking the entire tech and energy world. Dark matter energy is real. As if that wasn't shocking enough, the Koenigsegg CEO also claimed that his team has already built a working car powered by it. We're not talking about gas, batteries, or hydrogen anymore. This is something pulled from the very fabric of the universe, a force scientists still don't fully understand. Is this the beginning of a whole new energy age, or just another dream bound to fail?
I'm 22 years old. I had started my first company when I was 19. It was a trading company. Had nothing to do with cars or design or anything like that. But I realized if I want to start my car company, I need to make some money.
Join us as we unpack what Koenigsegg actually discovered and why this could change everything. Koenigsegg's CEO shocking declaration. The lights dimmed at the Geneva Motor Show, and a sea of cameras turned toward the Koenigsegg stage. Everyone knew something big was coming. That's the kind of anticipation Koenigsegg brings. It wasn't just about another beautiful machine with wild horsepower or butterfly doors. This time, something felt different. There had been rumors in the tech corners for months, strange patents and curious interviews. But no one expected what was about to happen. The moment Christian von Koenigsegg stepped on stage, the room shifted. He's not the kind of CEO who loves the spotlight, but when he speaks, people listen. He's built a reputation on doing what others don't dare to try. He's the guy who reimagined the internal combustion engine, played with airless valve systems, and made the fastest production cars feel almost understated. So when he walked up to that stage, wearing a bright look, the news he brought changed the tech world forever. Stay tuned, let's break it down. And then, right there on the global stage, he said it. They had built a concept car powered by a new kind of energy.
Koenigsegg is a one-of-a-kind supercar company. For over 2 decades, Koenigsegg has been at the forefront of the motor industry, producing some of the most innovative and exclusive cars in the world.
Not fossil fuel, not lithium batteries, not hydrogen. Something tied to what scientists still barely understand. He called it dark matter energy. And for a moment, time paused. Everyone was frozen. What did he mean? Was this a metaphor? Was he serious? The silence was deafening. The silence didn't last long. Reporters immediately jumped in. Hands shot up. Others looked confused. Cameras were clicking non-stop. People scrambled to tweet, post, stream, or do anything to capture the moment. The press had questions nobody really knew how to ask. Was this real science, or just a marketing trick dressed in fancy physics talk? Koenigsegg clarified it fast. They weren't saying they had literally bottled dark matter. That wasn't the point. Instead, they had discovered a new way to generate energy that mimics some of the unknown forces scientists talk about when they try to explain the dark parts of our universe. The energy system doesn't rely on combustion or chemical reactions. It draws from principles most automakers don't even consider. It was experimental. It was raw. But it worked, at least in the prototype. That explanation only added fuel to the fire. Social media lit up like a volcano. Some people called it the biggest tech leap since the moon landing. Others said it was nonsense. Many were in the middle, just trying to make sense of it all. Was Koenigsegg going through a midlife sci-fi phase? Or had he really cracked something so wild it made every electric vehicle on the road look like a rotary phone? The comparisons started rolling in. Elon Musk came up, naturally.
The world's richest man just got richer. I'm talking about Elon Musk. His net worth has reached $400 billion.
People said Koenigsegg had entered the arena of the big idea guys. Not just building things, but reshaping how we think about energy, transportation, even reality itself. Except, unlike Musk, Koenigsegg wasn't trying to colonize Mars or implant brain chips. He just wanted to build a car that runs on what looks like magic. And there it was on stage, the Oblivion One, sleek, aggressive. The body looked like it had been sculpted by wind, but it was what powered the car that had everyone stunned. No gas, no EV charging port, no hydrogen tank. The specs on the screen said it ran on something called quantum-informed zero-point technology, not a battery, not a fuel cell, something different, something no one in the audience could quite define. According to Koenigsegg, the car was running on energy harvested from fluctuations in quantum fields, basically tiny movements at the smallest scales of reality. The science sounded impossible, like something out of a late-night documentary. But there it was, humming quietly, already active. It wasn't fiction, not according to him. The mood in the room shifted from skepticism to a kind of quiet awe. It wasn't about horsepower anymore. It wasn't about who had the slickest infotainment system. It was about the possibility that Koenigsegg, this small Swedish automaker led by a man obsessed with perfection, had just taken a step into a new era of power. As people started leaving the venue, there were no clear answers, just questions. Did they really witness the beginning of a new energy age? Nobody could say for sure. But one thing was clear. The story was no longer just about cars. Something bigger had been set in motion. But before we explain that, it is important to introduce the man behind the mind-blowing discovery. Stay with us. Christian von Koenigsegg's innovative mind. Before he became the global CEO we know today, Christian von Koenigsegg was just a kid in Sweden who couldn't stop sketching machines. While other kids played video games or kicked soccer balls around, Christian sat by the windows drawing cars with rocket engines. According to sources close to his family home, he was the kind of kid who looked at a toy and wondered why it couldn't fly. There was something different in how he thought. Even back then, he wasn't imagining faster cars. He was imagining different ones. That curiosity followed him into adulthood, and by the early 90s, he'd already made up his mind. He wasn't going to work for someone else. He was going to build the world's most advanced car company from scratch. No safety net, no massive funding, just obsession, sketches, and relentless belief. So, in 1994, in a small facility surrounded by snow-covered trees, Koenigsegg Automotive was born. He didn't have a roadmap. He had something harder to find, patience, and a kind of madness for precision most people couldn't understand. It didn't take long for people to notice. His cars weren't just fast. They broke records and rewrote the rules. From the CC8S to the Jesko, Koenigsegg cars became known for doing things others thought were impossible. They introduced new transmission systems that skipped the gearbox entirely. They ditched camshafts for air-powered valves. And they weren't afraid to slap wild numbers on the spec sheets because they could actually back them up. Christian didn't do this from a glass office. He wasn't that kind of CEO. He was always right there on the factory floor, hands on metal, sleeves rolled up, asking questions nobody else thought to ask. While big automakers shuffled papers and held meetings, Christian was underneath prototypes, figuring out how to make a car weigh less without sacrificing safety or strength. That tinkering never stopped. He wasn't in it for market share. He was in it for answers. While other car makers followed trends, hybrids, EVs, SUVs, Koenigsegg ignored the noise. He didn't want to copy anyone. He wanted to invent. He built a combustion engine that could switch between fuels on the fly. He designed a car that didn't need a transmission at all. And when the world rushed toward electric vehicles, he slowed down, asked if electric was the only answer, and started playing with ideas most engineers wouldn't dare to touch. And here's the twist not everyone knows. Behind the turbochargers and track stats, Christian had a quiet obsession with something deeper. Physics. The weird kind. The kind that most people either ignore or laugh off. He read about vacuum energy. He followed obscure journals. And once in a while, in low-key interviews, he'd let it slip. His obsession with energy systems that didn't rely on combustion, batteries, or even sunlight. That interest didn't stay private. Over the years, Christian quietly reached out to fringe researchers. He funded side projects, not to build anything for the public yet, but just to explore. He met with scientists who had theories about zero-point energy, those tiny fluctuations in the universe that never really stop. He wasn't looking for media attention. He just wanted to know if there was something out there the textbooks hadn't caught up with. By 2018, people close to the company say Christian had started collecting papers, theories, even prototypes from thinkers most universities wouldn't even give a conference booth to. He wasn't careless. He wasn't chasing fantasy. He was just always asking, what if? Not everyone liked that side of him. He got called eccentric, unrealistic. Some said he was wandering too far from reality, but Christian didn't mind. He once joked that he'd rather be called crazy than boring, and that's the truth. He never cared about being taken seriously. He cared about being right, even if it took years for people to catch up. So when he stood on that stage in Geneva and said they'd built a car that used energy drawn from dark matter principles, most people were shocked. But the people who had followed his journey, the ones who knew about his midnight study sessions, his strange partnerships, his refusal to follow the industry rulebook, they weren't surprised at all. This wasn't some wild turn in his story. It was where everything had been quietly heading all along. And as this chapter of his life opens wider, we're starting to see just how deep the rabbit hole goes. The next step might not be about supercars at all. It might be something far bigger, something that challenges how we understand power itself. But to see where it goes, we first have to look at what's actually powering that mysterious car, and how it even works. What you are about to see will blow your mind. What exactly is dark matter energy? If you look up at the night sky, all those stars, galaxies, and glowing clouds might seem like everything there is. But scientists believe that we're only seeing a tiny fraction, less than 20%, of what the universe actually holds. The rest is made up of something we can't see or touch, something they call dark matter. It doesn't shine, it doesn't reflect, and it doesn't react to light in any way. But it's definitely there, hiding in plain sight. We know this because galaxies move in ways that only make sense if some invisible weight is pulling on them. That invisible weight is what they believe to be dark matter. What makes dark matter so strange is that it doesn't act like anything we're familiar with. You can't put it in a bottle. You can't bounce a beam of light off it. It doesn't absorb or release energy like normal matter does. It just sits out there in space, pushing and pulling on everything, like an invisible scaffolding holding the universe together. And even though researchers have been trying to detect it directly for decades, they've never caught a single particle. It's like chasing a ghost with a butterfly net. Then there's dark energy, which is even more baffling. While dark matter seems to hold galaxies together, dark energy does the opposite. It pushes everything apart. It's the reason the universe is expanding faster and faster instead of slowing down. So, in simple terms, dark matter pulls things in, and dark energy pushes them out. They're like cosmic opposites, yet both are equally mysterious. We don't know where they come from. We don't know how they work. We just know something's out there making the universe behave in ways our physics can't fully explain. Now, there's another idea that's been around for a while, and it might be the key to understanding what Koenigsegg was really talking about. It's called zero-point energy. According to quantum physics, even when a vacuum seems completely empty, there's still a tiny bit of energy floating around. It's like the universe never fully shuts off. There's always a hum in the background. That hum is what scientists call zero-point energy. It's not science fiction. It's a real concept from the weird world of quantum mechanics. So, when Christian von Koenigsegg made his announcement, some physicists didn't think he meant literal dark matter particles running an engine. Instead, they suspect he's talking about harvesting energy from these invisible quantum fluctuations, basically squeezing power out of the vacuum itself. It's not proven, but it's been seriously discussed in certain corners of science for years. There's also an interesting bit of history here. Back in the early 1900s, Nikola Tesla had his own theories about invisible energy fields. He believed the world was full of untapped power, floating freely in space, just waiting to be drawn in. While most of his ideas never made it into mainstream science, people like Christian seem to be picking up where Tesla left off, just with better tools and modern theories. Of course, not everyone buys into this. A lot of traditional scientists roll their eyes when terms like zero point or dark energy come up outside research papers. They say it's too speculative, too unproven. Some even call it pseudoscience. But there's a fine line between what's fringe and what's just ahead of its time. Remember, black holes were once considered nonsense too. What's especially interesting is that Koenigsegg hasn't just talked about this. They've taken action. In the past year, the company filed patents for non-traditional propulsion methods. These aren't for typical electric motors or combustion engines. The descriptions mention things like field-based energy systems and non-chemical power conversion. That's not just hype. It suggests they're actually building something no one's seen before, and they're not alone. Across the world, a quiet movement is picking up speed. Small startups, independent labs, and even a few big names are digging into these same energy ideas. They're running experiments that don't fit inside the box. Some are working on ways to harvest vacuum energy. Others are chasing room temperature fusion, or rethinking how energy flows at the subatomic level. It's messy. It's full of failures, but it's happening. So whether or not what Koenigsegg is doing qualifies as real dark matter energy, it clearly taps into a growing curiosity, a new field trying to stretch past the limits of today's science. And that raises the next big question. If this kind of energy is even halfway real, how does it get from the lab into a moving car? That's where things get really interesting. What comes next for the dark matter energy tech? Right now, the world is split into two camps. On one side, you've got the believers, people who think Christian von Koenigsegg just cracked the code to a new kind of energy. On the other, there are the skeptics, and they're not staying quiet. Scientists are reminding everyone that big claims need big proof. The labs that have been chasing dark energy or zero-point power for decades haven't found anything conclusive, so they're not ready to believe just because a car company said so. For them, it's all about the data, and until they see it, they're holding their applause. Meanwhile, the traditional energy world is getting a bit nervous. Oil companies and electric vehicle makers have always been on opposite ends of the clean energy fight, but now both sides are watching the same wild card. If what Koenigsegg is building actually works, it could upend both industries. Oil loses its grip, and EVs suddenly look old-fashioned. There's a sense that this isn't just another alternative power source. It could be a new category altogether, and no one outside of Koenigsegg knows how close they really are. Then there are the government agencies, and they're not sleeping on this. Rumors are spreading that the European Union and the US Department of Energy have already reached out to learn more about the technology. Some say there have been quiet visits, backdoor calls, and requests for demonstrations. Because if someone just figured out how to pull energy from space or vacuum fluctuations, that's not just a car story anymore. It's national interest stuff. Energy security, clean power, and even defense implications are all on the table. At the same time, the world's biggest tech names are circling. Word is that people close to Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos both made private inquiries after the Koenigsegg announcement. These are folks who've invested billions into rockets, batteries, and space stations. If anyone understands the value of a compact, unlimited energy source, it's them. They're not waiting for peer-reviewed papers. They're trying to be first in line if it turns out to be real. And now, the money is following fast. Venture capital firms that usually focus on artificial intelligence or biotech are suddenly shifting attention to energy startups. Everyone wants a piece of whatever this new field might become. Some of them are backing small labs with similar ideas, hoping lightning might strike twice. Others are quietly trying to partner with Koenigsegg itself. The race has started, and no one wants to be left behind. That is not all. Out in the world, regular people are reacting too. There's a kind of cautious excitement. After years of climate change warnings, rising fuel prices, and power outages, people are desperate for something that feels like a breakthrough, something that sounds bold and futuristic, but also offers real hope. Christian's announcement struck a nerve. It sounded impossible, but also exactly like the kind of thing people want to believe in right now. Koenigsegg has since confirmed they're setting up a brand new research facility dedicated entirely to this project. They're calling it the Dark Energy Lab. It won't just focus on cars. They're bringing in specialists from different backgrounds. You know, physics, material science, software, and propulsion. Whatever they're building, it's big enough that the whole company is changing shape around it. But even with all the noise, there's still no release date. No prototype was shown to the public. No test drive, no press event, no production schedule. Christian himself has told people to be patient. He said that this isn't just about supercars anymore. This is about what might power homes, planes, or even missions to Mars. That kind of scale takes time, and it's clear they're in no rush to show something half-finished. Thank you for staying with us. Do you believe that Koenigsegg will achieve dark matter energy breakthrough? Share your opinions with us in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, click the following video on your screen and you will enjoy it.